In 1854, Congress passed the Kansas-Nebraska Act, a law that would change the course of American history. The act created the territories of Kansas and Nebraska, opening them up for settlement. But it also contained a controversial provision. Instead of Congress deciding whether slavery would be legal there, the settlers themselves would vote through a process called popular sovereignty. This might have sounded fair on paper, but in reality it was explosive. The act effectively repealed the Missouri Compromise of 1820, which had banned slavery north of a certain line. For decades, that compromise had kept an uneasy balance between free and slave states. Now it was undone and the fragile peace began to unravel. Almost immediately, pro-slavery and anti-slavery settlers flooded into Kansas, determined to tip the balance of the vote. What followed was not peaceful democracy but violent conflict. Between 1854 and 1859, Kansas became a battlefield. Armed clashes, raids, and even massacres broke out between the two sides. Towns were burned, families torn apart, and dozens of lives lost. The violence earned Kansas a grim nickname, Bleeding Kansas. Newspapers across the nation reported on the bloodshed, shocking the public and deepening the divide between North and South. Leaders like John Brown, an abolitionist who believed in fighting slavery with force, rose to prominence during these violent years. His attacks on pro-slavery forces in Kansas marked the beginning of his radical campaign, one that would later culminate in the famous raid on Harper's Ferry. The Kansas-Nebraska Act was meant to give settlers freedom of choice, but instead it revealed that the nation could not peacefully resolve the issue of slavery. The fighting in Kansas foreshadowed the much larger conflict to come, the American Civil War. By the end of the 1850s, the violence in Kansas had calmed, but the scars remained. Bleeding Kansas showed that compromise was no longer enough to hold the Union together. The United States was on a collision course with war.